Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faith Ann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. She'll also bring insightful interviews with successful business owners who have used networking to expand their businesses. Building relationships is the heart of networking, and generosity is the cruise ship that will navigate you toward those important relationships for your business or career. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faith Ann is ready. Are you?
Hello there, and welcome to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I'm your host, Faith Ann. I'm glad you found the show. Networking is providing opportunities for others that they would not have except for you, so that you have standing to ask for opportunities from those same people when you need them. How do we create opportunities for others, and how do we ask for those same opportunities? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's what I'm here for. Let's dive into episode 28. Well, listeners, thank you for coming to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast and listening. And this week, I have another expert in the Experts We Meet series. I'm welcoming Will Yarbrough with Yarbrough Sons. Will, thanks for coming on the Networkers Tour Guide podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Faith Ann. Appreciate it.
So, Will, tell us about your company and how long you guys have been in business and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, so my dad started Yarbrough Sons back in 1988, and I was born in 1990. So it is 2 years older than me. So as long as I know how old I am, I always know how old the company is. Yeah, so I mean, growing up, my dad was a solopreneur, and so I mean, it was just him for a while. And then we added some other guys on the team, and rocked and rolled for about a decade or so, and then sold the company, worked a different job, came back, started Yarbrough and Sons. So it was Yarbrough's before, and then it became Yarbrough and Sons. So I've got two younger brothers. We all grew up in the business, being just doing different jobs here and there. One of the things that I find funny about just our story is our dad never pushed us to that it was going to be a family business. It was never, his advice was always, hey, we want you to do what God's called you guys to do. And so if that's coming to work in the trades and HVAC, fantastic. If not, fantastic. We want you to go pursue that. So the talk I got when I was about 13 was, Will, go do something else. And this is about the time where, he was the tech out there running the calls. He was the install team. He was the sales guy. He was the, HR, he was all of the things. So he had a lot on his plate. So that was the advice I got, looking back, he would probably, I don't know if he remembers that exact talk, but I just remember it. And he wasn't being discouraging or anything like that. He was just trying to encourage me to pursue something, that, worthwhile, but that was not as taxing, on me personally. So, and I appreciate that. So that was kind of my route. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to go do something else. So my wife and I, we lived overseas for about 2 years and did that. But anyway, came back and started working in the business, and the business has grown, and so it was great to come back and work for family. My brothers, they all joined. We joined at different times, and now all of us are in it together. Family business. I share an office with my brothers. We get along great, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So we've grown. We've got about 50 or so people, teammates working for us, and so yeah, we're running around all over the place.
50 is a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of people. Anytime you throw 50 people into the mix, things always stay interesting. So it's
Right.
fun.
Well, and we met at BNI, which stands for Business Networking International.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
one of the reason why I wanted you to come on the podcast is because in the trades, often what I hear is, well, I don't have time to network because, I got to be out in the field. Some trades just don't put any value in it. But what's impressive is that your company had at one time, I think you had 3 people, 3 different representatives. It was you and your other 2 brothers in different BNI chapters. So your dad obviously made it a priority. So I would love to know how did it come to be that you guys, was it your idea to join a chapter and you just got permission, or was it your dad saying, "I think you guys need to go out and network"? How did that come to be?
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a combination. So my middle brother, I'm the oldest. My middle brother Colby joined a chapter and was in it for a couple of years, and I wasn't in. Right now, I'm in sales, but I wasn't doing sales when I first joined. My job's changed about 8 different times within Yarbrough and Sons. So whenever I started doing more residential sales, my brother had been in a BNI chapter for a couple of years, and so but what started all that initially was my dad kind of saying like, hey, like this might be something to pursue. Go check it out, and Colby, my middle brother, he went and checked it out. BNI really liked it, saw fruit from it, and so that's in the state. And so that was my introduction to BNI was through him. And then so the encouragement when I moved into residential sales, the encouragement from my dad and my brother was, hey, this is worth your time. This is going to be something we should probably do. Go check it out. And that's kind of how I joined BNI was through that.
I just love that, and I think that it's important for the tradespeople to also network, especially because you're meeting an immediate need. I think that homeowners have a hard time trusting people to come into their home. And as a homeowner, I would much rather have somebody that I'm going to see every week come into my home and perform a service than go into Google. And Google's great, and when the reviews come in, we all love our Google reviews, and it does create some trust. And having somebody that you're going to see the very next week or maybe even the very next month in your home, and if they can show that they know what they're doing and build some rapport and a relationship as a homeowner, that's a win. That's I think every trade should work towards being able to send somebody from the company to a regular networking meeting. You've seen the ROI, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to exactly quantify. You can see how much return you get, like from a particular investment, right? So I'm investing time into a networking group, and you hope to gain a return. But I think sometimes that's just like you're just on the surface there. So because I think a lot of the return is also just those relationships you build with people along the way. With the BNI chapter I was involved in, I made really good connections with people, and so that was something that you kind of in the back of your mind, kind of like, okay, yeah, this will be good, but you might not, that might not be on the forefront. Like, oh, I'm gonna become friends with a lot of these people. That's not the first thing you're thinking about. And there's a quote that I really like. And there's actually, have you ever seen The Chosen?
I've watched a few episodes of it.
Okay, so there's a line in there. It really doesn't matter if you've seen it or not, but there's a line in there, and one of the characters tells another character, says, "Hey, we don't make time for friends, soon we won't have any."
Mhm.
So it's that this idea that it's like, hey, you mentioned it before, contractors, especially in trades, the mechanical trades and everything. I mean, but I think it's with anyone really. Your phone's ringing, people are wanting something from you or expecting something on the back end of servicing their house. Maybe something didn't exactly go right, so you're trying to smooth that over, and you're trying to prospect, and you're trying to network, you're trying to take care of internal stuff. You're being pulled a lot of different directions. And then it's like, hey, you've got this other external obligation or this external thing that's like you've got to get out there and go talk to people. And so then the common sentiment is, well, I don't have time. I don't have time. And that's where that quote plays in my head is,
Mm.
hey, if we're not making time for our friends, soon we won't have any. It's this idea that networking, yes, you network and you build relationships, and you hope at the end of the day that results in revenue. That's the end goal that people are hoping for. But even more than that, there's relational capital, like because it's opening doors and getting you access into rooms and tables that you wouldn't have otherwise had access to. And a lot of our business was built off that concept. I mean, dad, he worked at a different company for about 2 years, and I was like 8. So
Mm.
I'm just this is just stories that I've heard him tell. He was just a manager at this other company and built a relationship with a contractor. Well, this contractor wound up having his own business and actually used him used my dad once he left, and so that contractor still uses us today, and is a large portion of the business. He's a big contractor,
Mm.
and so had my dad not invested in those relationships and taken time to slow down and to form that relationship, that wouldn't have happened. So I think when people are considering networking, counting the revenue cost is a factor, but the also seeing that that's just the like surface of the iceberg. That's the part you see, right? And
Right.
there's a lot beneath the water. Just to use the iceberg metaphor,
Right.
that I think people don't immediately think of. And it's arguably that's what keeps we're going to run with the iceberg metaphor. That's what
Right.
keeps the top afloat, right? The
Right.
top doesn't stay above water unless you've got everything underneath it, right? And it's those relationships that you build with people and the trust that you form that undergirds that whole situation, that whole dichotomy of networking. And so that's the unseen bit. And I think that's the part that not took me by surprise, but just was progressively revealed as I networked more and built relationships more, and seeing that as an incredibly valuable thing is just the relationships.
It is so valuable as you get deeper and deeper. Week after week, you're seeing the same people, or if you're doing it monthly, as long as you attend regularly, you are going to see the same people month after month. And you start to care about their lives more than just the HVAC guy. You had a baby during your course of being in BNI. You moved,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you moved. So we get to share in all of these things with you, and then having a network of people, it makes it so much easier if you're doing anything yourself to call and say, "Hey, I'm doing this brand new thing. Hey, would you donate a $50 gift card to my giveaway?" Sure.
Hmm.
Would
Hmm.
would you come to this event with me? Sure.
Hmm.
And like you said, it's that relational capital that you've built that allows you to call in favors as you're building rapport and you're creating opportunities for others so that you can ask for opportunities when you need them. That all happens in these networking situations. And I love that you said, that it was kind of a surprise that that was going to actually happen as well, not just the ROI, but the relationship return too. That's so neat that you're like, oh, I just all of a sudden I have all these friends.
Yeah, yeah. It surprises me that it surprised me, if that makes sense. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, of course, it's the yeah, that makes so much sense. But I just you just don't go in thinking in those terms, and but I think that's a lot of things, though. In life in general, especially when you go take on something new or you're meeting new people. It's like, oh yeah, I'm friends. I've become friends with all of these people, and it is. I think sometimes that can be taken for granted, especially within the context of BNI. You've got all of these people that are experts in their field. Whenever something happens, you need someone to do something. You've got all of a sudden just this access to all
Right.
of these people, and not just strangers. It's not like you're just Googling,
Right.
hey, who can help do my taxes? It's hey, oh, I know this person. I'll give a plug to Samantha. I know Samantha, or I know Faith Ann.
Uh-huh.
Or I know these people that do these things. And I can just, hey, I need my windows cleaned. When can you guys make it out? And then for you specifically, whenever we were moving, I
Right.
got to meet your son, and that was great. I got to hear about him for a couple of years, and then got to meet him, and so I'm sure I talked his arm off because I was like, yeah, I feel like I know you, and he's like, I have no idea who you are.
That's so cool. Yeah. Well, and I tell people, I tell the crew, this is BNI,
Uh,
like before when they're on the day that this is a BNI, and they all know what that means. That means Faith Ann is going to have to see this person within the week. So,
Uh,
you
yeah,
better, if you're going to slack
yeah.
off, which we don't tolerate slacking off, but if
Mhm.
you're going to,
I'm saying,
you got to,
yeah.
don't do it here. This is
Yeah, no,
BNI.
no. Well,
Yeah.
because it's that extra layer.
Yeah.
But like, not that you would ever slack off or you would ever do anything that would, jeopardize a relationship, even if you didn't know them. But it's that extra layer of like, oh, like this isn't just someone like random. This is a person that, you know, my mom, my brother, whoever knows and sees regularly. So
Hmm.
like, there's a certain level of responsibility that is a little deeper there.
Exactly.
So,
And I like
mm,
that. I mean, it makes us better. And I love too that when I first joined, I don't know if you feel this way, but I was overwhelmed sometimes. I would actually leave the meeting overwhelmed with the level of people that I was surrounded by. And sometimes it would get me a little bit just
yeah.
I felt so newbie in my
Mhm.
business and all these
Yeah.
people. And it was the time, this is particularly, and you weren't in the group yet, but we
Mhm.
had a marketer, a website designer, an SEO person. Like we had several of the whole advertising sphere in the chapter. And so I was just, sometimes I would be like, man, am I even in the right room? Do I even cut the mustard to be in this room? And I'm really glad that, I wasn't able to take advantage of many of those early people's offers to advertise because we needed time to get good at residential window cleaning. Because when we first bought the route, it wasn't residential. So we had to get time to get good at that. And I think that, and providentially, it was a good thing that we weren't able to afford many of the services that I wanted really badly at that time because then we would have grown too fast and we
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to serve the growth because we were still learning how to do residential window cleaning. But I do remember, just did you ever feel like that? Like you're in this room and these people are just almost like a level above you with their professionalism and where they are in their business?
Yeah. Yeah. I think my sense of overwhelm kind of hit differently. So like before BNI and everything, I'm used to I taught overseas to classrooms and did, being in front of people and speaking in front of people wasn't that's not an issue for me personally. I just don't that's not a struggle. I think when I was younger and doing some of that stuff and I think it was, but my issue was, I think seeing all these professionals and and struggling with a little bit of imposter syndrome, like what in the world, like do I know what I'm talking about? And I think having that, but then you get to know people and you're going, okay, yeah, everyone's doing their best, you know, and just be honest where you're at,
Hmm.
and level with people, and and people can see through that. If you're putting on a front, like I mean, our install manager, something that he says that is also stuck with me is he said it's you can fake something for a couple days, but in 90 days we're gonna see.
Mm,
It's hard to fake anything for 90 days because
right.
90 days is our period that like that we kind of give. That's like our trial period with people a lot of times.
Okay.
Um, so but that it's getting back to the like you're seeing them day in, day out. You see them through highs and lows, and I mean, even you mentioned, like I had a kid, through there, and and I was so grateful for BNI because I was in a I was in a vice president seat, and which is like
That's
there's kind of like there's a lot to do there.
that's the
and
hardest one of all of them. Yeah.
and I, and just sleeping like 3 hours, 4 hours a night, and showing up on Wednesday, I'm like, guys, I'm here.
Right.
And just you and so many people in BNI, showing me so much grace through that, was really really moving and super sweet. And so, and I'll always appreciate that, and so that made just endeared the people in that group, to me, and
Hmm.
so that's super important. I had a point and I lost it.
Oh, no, I love that you felt like you could lean into your chapter when you were,
Yeah.
a new parent and sleep deprived and
Yep.
And there's been times where in our chapter we have leadership and people who have signed up for a leadership role, and then something happened in their life and they couldn't fulfill it, and then we just ask somebody else to step into that role. And at least in our chapter, I found like we've been pretty good at being gracious to each other and letting people step out of roles if they can't fulfill them and fill. I mean, I filled in a secretary role
Yeah.
and I don't even remember who I replaced, but somebody
Yeah.
couldn't do it, and so I like, yeah, I'll do it. It's the
Mhm.
easiest of the three. But I want to ask you, what would you say to somebody in the trades, electrician, plumber, HVAC, who wants to network, doesn't
Mhm.
have a team behind them, but really wants to network? What would be a tip you would tell them to get started networking?
BNI is obviously a great choice, but just all of us come with built-in circles. We all have friends and family and all this kind of stuff. And I think networking is so much of, you know, asking good questions and being available and listening. And so like you don't have to go very far to start listening really well and just asking questions. And that sounds maybe super simplistic, because you're going, okay, ask questions and listen to people. But I know for me, I have a hard time. I have to consciously tell myself, slow down. And I think that's such a good advice, especially for someone who maybe doesn't have a team behind them, owns their own business, especially if they have a family. You're trying to provide for your family, you're trying to run a business and do all of these things. And just, I think my dad did that really well. And he's a little bit he's super calm and chill on the surface, but man alive, he is just working
Mhm.
underneath. As soon as you kind of get to know him, and it's like, oh man, I don't know how you do it. But and I think for someone who wants to begin networking, start there. Start, okay, hey, who do I know in these different areas? Who do I how can I benefit them? Not
Mm.
how can they benefit me?
Hi, listeners. Are you someone who struggles to make a great first impression when you meet others? Faith Ann has put together her guide to help you make a great first impression no matter where you are. This quick guide gives you simple tips to leave a powerful first impression, the first step to relationship building. Go grab this free resource today by clicking on the impressions link in the show notes.
And so how can I add value to this person today? Shoot them a text. Hey man, thinking about you. What can I do for you today? Do you need anything? It doesn't even
Mhm.
have to be like related, but just the fact that you're asking,
Mm.
you're asking, hey, how can I help you today? Like, not even HR, do you need anything? Like, it can be super silly, or maybe you think like, hey, you know what? I'm grabbing a coffee. What can I get you? Don't
Oh,
ask, do you want a coffee? I'm running by the coffee shop.
yeah.
How can I get you what I'm ordering? What do you want? And then
Yeah.
drop it by and then leave. Say, "I
Yeah.
appreciate it," and leave and go about your day. That's something super simple, doesn't require a ton of investment, but what you've done is you're adding value to people's day. And then, and that stuff compounds over time. And then when they need something that is in your field, man, who do you think they're going to think of?
Right.
That's staying top of mind,
Mhm.
being available, asking those questions. And that's what I mean by asking questions. It's just not I'm not saying like, well, you've got to like master spy your way in and ask these really specific questions so that you're leading to a sale.
Right.
And so that's not people can see through that pretty easily,
Mhm.
and so but it's, hey, I was thinking about you this morning. What do you need? What's going on? And just leave it at that. So and I'm not great at that.
Mm.
So I'm giving I feel like I'm giving advice and something like that I'm not personally, fantastic at. But I think if you're asking me how does someone start networking, I think start there.
That's
Uh,
great. That's excellent.
mm,
And that would also be encouraging for maybe the plumber who just cannot join a networking group just yet. And what you're doing is you're giving them some tools to actually start networking before they can join a group or even be visit a group. You're saying
Yeah.
if they're at the coffee shop anyway, maybe
Mhm.
one of their clients or a vendor or the supply shop, the girl at the supply shop where they get their stuff. Hey, what can I bring you? That is a great, great piece of advice. Listeners, I hope that you picked up on that. That is excellent for asking good questions and showing that you care, even if maybe you're not ready to be officially part of a meeting, a group of people. But then I would also say work towards that. Like, is there like an hour and a half a week that you could maybe hire a virtual assistant who could take your calls for that 1 hour a week or that 1 hour a month? Work towards that, and you'll see that those little things that you've already been doing, now you have this huge opportunity to do them for so many more people, and they're going to start, leaning into you when they need what you have to offer. So, great
Yeah.
tip. I love that, Will. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks. I think it's easy to say too. It's like, okay, well, once I join a networking, then I'll be that guy. Then I'll be that girl.
Yeah,
It's like, no, like these are the person you will be is the person you are currently, it's not this switch that's like, oh, now I'm this person.
right,
It's you got to practice these small steps, and it's in doing the small steps that you become that type of person. And
right,
so because all of a sudden you just flip the switch and you're like, well, now I'm this. That's you might be able to hold that up for a little bit, but like if you haven't practiced these small things, I'm just speaking just from how I think, know myself to work. So I think starting small is helpful. For me, that's helpful.
right. Well, I love our conversation. It's been really great. And I want to ask you two questions before I let you tell people where they can find you. What do you like to see when you network?
I like to see my network. I think just and this is hard to like quantify exactly. I think what I like to see when I work is just a genuine interest. The people in the room have a genuine interest in the people around them, and maybe not necessarily for what they can get out of them, but it's kind of like what we talked about there. It's like, hey, like these people seem to have a really good and warm relationship outside of whatever their field is. People in general are pretty intuitive to that kind of
Mm.
stuff. If you
Yes.
walk in a room and everyone's smiling and talking and people are kind of walking here and there, and there's a lot of activity happening, and not frantic activity, but just, people are mingling.
Hmm.
I like to see that because if you walk in a room and everyone's just silent, sitting down at their own desk or their own chair and no one's talking, that's that would throw up some red flags. So I guess that would say what I don't like, but like what I like at the same
Yeah.
time. I think that sort of activity, that sort of communication, that sort of relational warmth is indicative of a group that is invested in each other in and out of their businesses. And I
Right.
think that's really important in any networking situation, regardless of what the networking environment is, that those kind of things are pretty staple in my head.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I have an article on at the Networkers Tour Guide blog, and one of the article is what to look for in a networking group. And one of the things that I say is when people laugh, you know that there's connection happening in that room. If you spend an hour and a half in a room and nobody laughs, because
Yeah.
laughter is a very good sign of true connection, of people being able to be themselves, people being comfortable with each other. And
Mhm.
and we're not just talking about one dude that is the comedian. And no, just
Yeah.
sprinkled throughout the meeting, there are times where people laugh. That is a great indication that the people are truly connected with each other. And like you said, if you see activity, people talking to each other, that's a good sign. Because when we only talk about our businesses, you could imagine that those conversations would only go take you so far. So
Yeah.
when you hear people talking, it means that they're talking about more than just their businesses, because that can only get you so far. But then,
Yeah.
like, that iceberg is the family and the struggles and what we're proud of. I'll tell you something. Holly in our group, so she
Mhm.
changed the agenda. She improved it. I won't get down into the weeds for our listeners about
Yeah.
how she improved it because but you'll know she improved it. She put a QR code on it. I tell you what, we bragged on that thing the entire meeting. We were like, "Go, Holly!" And then I took a picture of her. I put it in our Facebook group, and I said, "Holly for the win." So that's an example. Like this is a simple
Yeah.
thing that she did, but we're recognizing what you did for all of us is going to actually improve our experience, and we want to recognize you for that effort. And she was just tickled, and it's things like that when people's efforts get recognized, and BNI is so good at that. They do it intentionally. Recognition, it's one of their core values. We recognize, or sometimes members will be nominated. You guys have been nominated for different awards
Mhm.
that by the various magazines, and so we'll announce that in our meeting. Make sure go vote because this person's nominated. So we really come alongside each other so well, I think. And I think that's why, we just stick together so well, is because we're really connected to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, gosh, that's one of the things I loved about our group, was that just that closeness. And yeah, yeah, yeah. That's super cool about Holly. I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
what do you not like to see when you network?
The opposite of what we just
Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, whenever you walk into a room, and you can feel tension. There's so much about communication that's nonverbal. My joke is, 97% of statistics are made up on the spot. And so it's a,
Right.
but it's like it's a really high percentage, of our communications nonverbal, and just people's communication. And so you walk into a room, and even if no words are being spoken, you can sense a tension in the air. And if there's tension, I mean, generally that's unresolved conflict. So we're going, okay, hold on, there's something happening that maybe isn't the best environment for this networking, for what needs to take place, because that under part of the iceberg, something's off, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so if something's off on the, we're rocking with the iceberg analogy.
Right, right.
But if something's off at the under the water portion of that iceberg, right? You're talking about things get inverted really quickly. If you were to ask me, well, have you ever walked into a room like that? I'm like, I don't think I have, but I've been in spaces where, like, between just a couple people, there's been tension. And so I think if you walk into a networking group, or even whether it's a big group or a small group, and you're kind of sensing that tension, that should probably throw up a red flag. So that's something I wouldn't see as a prime opportunity to really do some good networking, would be in those specific situations.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Mm.
because boy, people don't have enough umption to fight other people's tension. We've all got our own problems, and we don't want to walk into
Yeah,
problems that we have nothing to do with.
yeah,
That's the last
yeah,
thing we want to tackle. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Yarbrough Sons is a great company here in Oklahoma, and you guys always do really great work. So, as we leave the conversation, where can people find you?
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and yeah, really appreciate you. You've been super great, just to me personally, and so I appreciate you. Thank you, Fabian.
You're very welcome.
You can find me. We have our website, yarbroughsons.com, but I have Facebook, Instagram. I don't post a ton, just because I've got 3 young kids that I'm running around, and I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are pretty active on Facebook on our company side, Yarbrough Sons. We're really active there. We've got TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. So if you enjoy seeing silly commercials, come follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
You guys do actually do a great job with your advertising on Instagram. And then you were back in the winter when it was slow, you guys were doing a lot of lives on
Yeah,
Instagram, and that
yeah,
was fun. I was able to, join into a few of those.
yeah.
It's really I think also let me just play teacher a little bit just real quickly for our listeners. When your referral partners or people that you're in groups with, if they go live on their accounts, even if it has really nothing to do with you, Get,
Mhm.
if you can, watch their lives. It's so nice to see when you're on a live, when you see people joining in, even though you may not ever use them personally, or you're just not in a position to uh, personally be a client, but just that support, just it's that cheerleader. Oh, Will's Yarbrough and Sons is live. What do they have to
Mhm.
say? Because I might learn something. It's a great way to show support for those you network with without having to actually pull a credit card out. Is
Mhm.
when they go live, join in on it and see what's
Mhm.
going on if you can. You know, it's some simple.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, what you were talking about earlier about, I'm at the coffee shop. What can I grab you? It's, oh, Will's
Mhm.
going live. Let me see what he has to say. Instead of
Yeah.
looking at it and saying, well, I don't need any AC. I'm not going to tune in. No, tune in
Mhm.
because you might learn something, and that person is going to so appreciate that one more viewer,
Yeah.
and gives them energy.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That's huge. I remember my brother that does the live. He remembers you hopping on,
Yeah.
and so he saw. Yeah. 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 Yes.
And
That
then
was good.
he gave us a shout out, which was so cool. I think
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was Tucker. I don't remember if it
Yeah.
was
Yeah. It
Tucker.
was Tucker. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, they're giving me a shout out. They're giving me a shout out for Window Cleaning Plus," so it
Yeah.
just, and I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting anything. I was just like, "No,
Right.
the Yarbrough and Sons is on live. Let me see what they have to say." Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how I operate, is like my people. I want to
Yeah.
support my people.
That's awesome. I think Faith, and that's why you're such a good. And I'm just going to brag on you for a minute. I think that's why you're such a good networker. You're thinking about those things, and you are. You're. If anyone were to ask me, "Hey, Will, who's the best networker you've seen?" I have faith in.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's. I think you do a great job at that kind of stuff. And so, and you're right. It does. It adds so much value. Whenever someone's doing a live or doing something like that, whenever you hop onto those posts and everything, that just communicates so much value to the person that's doing it. And even if you're not able to pay attention the whole time, just have it on.
right.
Let it run, and then you can hop in and do something, but just let it run. And so I think that's something easy that you can do.
It is easy. It is so simple. And I think maybe one of the reasons why we don't do those things too is that we think, well, what's the difference? We don't understand the difference that it does make just by hopping on. And maybe, you've got your phone on your right and your computer in front of you on your left, and you're doing some invoicing, you're doing some stuff, but you're letting the phone, or you're letting the live play, like you said. I
Mhm.
mean, sometimes that is what I have to do. But
Yeah.
we don't realize that how important what that shows, and
Mhm.
so we don't do it because we don't think we're that big a deal. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you are a big deal. And
Yeah.
your audience, your eyeballs, your ears are of great value to other people who are in business. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to grow our audiences. We're all trying to serve our clients. And so that simple act, don't devalue it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Don't devalue it. It's a big deal, and do it whenever you can.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
All right. Listeners, please do go check out Yarbrough and Sons, and don't you have a YouTube channel too?
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a YouTube channel. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go
And
check out.
that one we post like tips and stuff too.
Yeah, go check out their YouTube channel for tips, and then maybe if you're just starting in HVAC, not in Oklahoma but some other state, and you wanna see what the bar,
Oh,
if you want
yeah.
something to aspire to do in your marketing, you might check out their YouTube channel because it really is
Yeah.
quite good.
Yeah, I've got to brag on Tucker and our marketing director Bryce. They are fantastic at what they do. And so, I mean, a lot of times Bryce says, "Will, I need this video. Hop in your truck and I need you to say roughly this."
Oh, that's
And
nice.
just yeah, yeah, they are great. And so, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a thank you for that plug. Yeah, we really appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. If you're getting started in HVAC, go check us out.
Okay, and then you have a podcast too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My brothers and I and our marketing director run a podcast called The Blue Collar Bros. And Bros is Brough.
That's great. So, who is that? Who are you gearing that? What kind of audience are you gearing that podcast
Definitely,
towards?
definitely for people in and the trades, the mechanical trades, a lot of times is who our main audience is for that one. Just because we're coming at it from an angle of, hey, maybe you're just getting started out. Maybe you own your own HVAC plumbing business, and these are the things that have helped us in the past. But we also dabble into like we've interviewed my mom and our dad. Um, just the family side. How do
Hmm.
we operate as family in a business working together? And because that's sometimes that's hard to do sometimes.
Oh, well, I know.
So,
Window Cleaning Plus is a family business, and we have
yes,
many years experience of working with our children.
yeah,
We bought the route from my brother, so
uh,
yeah, there's a lot of
yeah.
challenges when you're working with family. It's hard.
Obviously there's challenge, and we're so blessed to be. My brothers and I and our parents, we all have fantastic relationships. I office with both of them, so we're all in the same room every single day.
Mm.
And knowing that the love we have for one another undergirds that relationship. So even if we have to have those hard conversations of like, hey, we need to do this or XYZ, that we know that that doesn't override the love we have for one another. So that's we're super blessed and fortunate to be able to have that. So we talk about some of that stuff on the podcast. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I want to make sure my listeners know though. So we in our family business, our family, same thing though. So we do enjoy working with our family, just challenges, but overall, and our son right now has been our main employee. He's really helpful. Our middle son. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, Will, thank you so much again for coming on. Do check out Will's YouTube channel and his podcast, and we'll have all that in the show notes. And as you network, go and ask a good question, and when you're at a coffee shop, if there's a coffee you can bring somebody else, do that, and just spread some love in the world, and that's really networking.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faith Ann Basor. Share this episode with a friend, and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.